What's going on, my high vibrational expressions of God on earth? Today we get to break down the Illumination or the Illuminator Circle. We're looking to establish a 12-member body to produce products, services, and information that establish illumination or light on this planet. Like with everything that I create, that we talk about, not only myself, but everybody that's on this phone call today, and everybody that will be listening to this in the future. We are all creators because we're made in the image and likeness of the Creator. The way by which you create is just a little different from the way that I create. Today we want to delve into the mind-blowing ramifications of over and understanding how you and I are gifted and positioned in a manner that allows us to be able to express, expose, and expand our God-given destiny or destiny. The thing that really blows me away is, like, why did it take me so long to get to this level of awareness? Another question that comes to mind, that as I go through my life and I look back over some of the things that I've done, and it's interesting how awareness only comes through adversity. If I did not go through A, B, C, and D, I wouldn't understand how to assume. I wouldn't understand how to expect, and I surely wouldn't be in a state where I could believe and then manifest. See, when you speak from your soul, you awaken your demographics. You awaken your vibrational equivalent. Conscious expression of the 144-word epigenetic matrix inside of your soul. That's the purpose of this group. Now, remember, just like with everything else I've done in the past, these opportunities are just that. This is not something that you have to do. I'm looking for people that are interested in expressing, exposing, and expanding their God-given destiny and destiny through a collaboration. Because as I've been setting up and going through some of the reports, I've noticed all of the amount of meat that I'm leaving on the bone. And since I'm just a one-man operation, the ability to collaborate, just like we did with the roundtable group, just like I talked about what I did way back when I was buying real estate and I formed a co-op when I purchased different properties. Because, one standing alone is easily defeated, two standing back-to-back can conquer, a three-stranded cord is not easily broken. Now, remember, everything that we're going to be discussing today, I'm already doing. This is not anything like we're creating something new. The only thing that we're doing now, what I'm doing is to try to collaborate. Iron sharpens iron. But it must be a vibrational equivalent. In other words, you can't make anybody to do anything. Especially now because everybody is so busy. What's interesting, what's going on is I'm looking at the landscape and I'm seeing how the spiritual separation, the haves versus the have-nots from an illumination perspective. So the people that I'm talking about is that what I'm looking for is people who are interested in establishing a 144-word matrix that's based upon abundance. Because Yahushua can you have life and life more abundantly. But the only way that happens is through synchronicity. Because when you're able to synchronize the areas in which you need illumination, like chromatic resonance, which is nothing, chromatics is just another word, a fancy word for color. Resonance is another word for just resounding. So when we synchronize, we're able to harmonize, and then we're able to establish a migration. This is your epigenetic inheritance. It's hidden inside of your DNA. All we're doing is using neuroplasticity to change the brain's ability, or to activate the brain's ability to rewire based upon thought patterns that are amplified through what I call numerology. There's a lot of different words, but at the end of the day, each word has a numerical value. So some of the topics and some of the products that came to mind as I was preparing for, and I was working on this last night, and I was looking at something as simple as 144-word flashcards. Now, so I can research this. I can find a company. I can, set up. I can order a sample product like I always do, just like I did with the Life Optimization Circle. That's another product service information. Except having a circle with having 144 words on it in your office, like I have in my office. I've shared that with everybody. I did the same thing with the Diaconia report. But now we're going to a higher level of understanding. The ability to take this information and to establish a group of people that bounce ideas off of. And whether we do it as a 1099 corporation, which simply means that everybody, you have your own product. Each person will develop their own product. For example, let's say if I decide to take the flashcards and I create a deck of flashcards, each card has one word on it. And there's 144 cards in the deck. So that way every day as you go through and you wake up, this is a way for you to program yourself through the flashcards. I put that product on my website or on a brand new website that we formulate if that's what we decide to do. The next is the Illuminati, and Illumination, because they're both the same. So that's really the Illuminati is just a dumbed-down version of the original Illumination. That's how they got it. So what the Illuminati did was stole the Illumination. Or use the principles of Illumination to establish the Illuminati. I ain't mad at them because the principles work. Whether you use them for bad or good, gravity works. It affects everybody. They're just using the illumination for selfish gain. We're just using the illumination for spiritual and evolution, personal and collective. The next thing is the Illumination board game. So if you establish the board game with my assistance and the assistance of members of the group, then you can use your own, because that would be your own product. So all of the sales and benefits would go to you. That's one way of doing it. The other way of doing it is just take the sales and divide it up by the number of people in the group. The other way of doing it is you produce your own products. You put up your own, your own payment gateway so that when someone clicks on the link, they make the payment, it goes directly into your bank account. It's not shared with the group because it's your product. Or we can take all the products that we produce as a group. This is something that the group will talk about. And we could take, for example, I created the Illumination Soul Code, an Illumination Activation Map, the Illumination Journal, as an Illumination Puzzle. What about an Illumination Focus Group, a community of people that are with what we're talking about? What about that? I have an Illumination morning activation routine or ritual. So you can help people develop their own morning routine to help with their own illumination. So these are all just ideals, and you have a different set of ideals. So the whole point is to get a group of people, just like I did with the round table, to bounce ideas and come up with the ideas and test, see which ones have a market. And then, the biggest thing is to have people that are available to promote the idea. Because as you know, one of the issues that I have is I create products and services every day. But I don't have the ability to promote the products and services. At least not one product continuously for 365 days, even sprinkling in a little paid advertising. For example, one of the products that I've never really talked about, is the series that I did on the air of the power, or you are the air of the power of the air. The scripture that talks about the prince is over the power of the air. But that's you. So that's a book. That's a series that I wrote and did along with all of these 750 other books and series that I've done. So that should be 750 different people, each one dedicated to promoting that specific product, service, and information every single day on all social media platforms, 365 days a year. But everybody has their own product, service, and information. promote. I just happen to be a 336, which allows me to be able to create way more than I'm able to promote. So the goal is whether you join this organization or whether you create your own is to think in a manner, in a way that allows you to be able to express, expose, and expand, to be able to not only create, but to also to be able to, again, promote whatever product, service, and information that you are promoting. The goal and the beautiful thing about this is it's based upon, for example, the focus group. For example, that needs to be a group. We need to start a group where all we do is we read as a group all the ancient texts that I talk about. We log on, whether it's, Google. What does Google have? Google, I forgot what Google's group thing is. Whether we do some other platform, whether it's video or whether it's audio. Because if you got a group of people like we did back in the day with me and Zen Garcia and John the Baptist on Freedom Slips Radio, now all we did every night was come on the radio and read the ancient texts. I was blown away at the collective power and the amount of people that tuned in every night. That's just one. People, again, we go to Patreon or PayPal or whatever the payment gateway. Like I was talking about with the movies and the books. And I mentioned that I did. I think I had about 3 people that responded. So it wasn't really even worth my time and energy for just 3 people. And let's say, $20 a month or $20 a book or movie. Because the idea that I promoted was all these movies that I watched, I talk about, like I was telling you guys, watch The Discovery of Witches. There's things that I pick up when I watch these movies that for whatever reason, other people don't pick them up. So I can't talk about every movie and every book, even though I do a lot of times doing the show. But this is designed so that way it's purposefully, intentionally, consciously, because that's what's missing. What's missing in everybody's, we're all so busy doing our own thing. And we should be. But my thing harmonizes with Brother Osama's thing. Brother Osama's thing harmonizes with, Dr. Span's thing. Dr. Span's thing harmonizes with Sister Coleman and Sister Hattie and, Brother George and, Brother Reuben and Sister Emily. So the collective, I found it, that's why it's so hard to do. Remember, it's, only way you can find it is in corporate America. Because in corporate America, you're getting paid. But the problem is, the people that are in those positions in corporate America, they're there for the money. They're not there for the purpose. Because if you stop paying them the money, they stop showing up. Excuse me. That's why there's a cost involved, like with everything I do, to join the group. I'm thinking I'm just going to make it the same cost for the entire program that I'm doing. That way you get both, you get 2 things for the price of 1. Meaning that anybody that joins me for the rest of the year as I go through the Illumination report. Because the problem that I'm having is a good problem. The Illumination report, if I don't stop it, I just got to cut it off at some point because it'll be 1,000 pages. It is that deep. I didn't really, I knew it was powerful, but I didn't really understand it was that powerful. I didn't really understand what I'm sharing. This is why I'm sharing this with you. Because when I went in and started doing these reports, not only for myself, but I've only done 5 or 6 of them so far. And I'm blown away at the depth, the level of revelation that's done, especially with just an idea of creating a flashcards. And everybody that orders, making that product available. Same thing with the vision board. But it's not a vision board. It's a vision of yourself. See, we did vision boards for something else. I've always did vision boards for something I wanted. I never did a vision board for something I have. It doesn't exist. That's just one product that somebody in this group should create. Now, I'm doing my thing over here, but I'm just one man. So I'm looking for 12 other people or 11 people to make 12, like King Arthur in his round table, just like I did before. So I've been doing this for 30 years. First one I ever did, the internet was barely coming out. It was the Eagles Club. It was local. It was just people in my neighborhood. Then I did Inspirational Grounds. That was just primarily with inmates, because at that time I was working in the prison system. And then I transferred out of the prison system, and then I just started working as a probation officer. As a probation officer, I still had access every day to the prison. But it was a halfway house. So all I did was go and pick up all the members from the halfway house every night. Well, not every night. We had open mic and spoken word. It went so well that the BOP, the Bureau of Prisons, told me they was going to pay me to do it. Then they just cut me out of the loop and they instituted it themselves. Now in every prison they have spoken word because it helps the inmates release that anger. But I would actually pick them up, put them in my car, and take them to my coffee shop. They would perform on stage, and then I would take them back to the halfway house. And it worked so well, they stopped fighting, killing each other. And so the prison started implementing it, at least in the state of Texas, because it gave them another outlet for that anger. And the goal was to have the prison system, the federal government. Another little program that most people that I was doing also for veterans. It's called Chapter 31. I don't know if you guys heard of it. You can Google it, Chapter 31. Anybody on this call can start today an organization for any veteran that has a disability. You can create a school, because that's what I did with the Life Management University. That we started it. I wasn't getting money from people. I was getting money from the government. As long as you got a cert, remember, you start your own certification. You certify your own school. This was on Dateline last night. And it was in Missouri. This guy was an ex-Marine. He got out. He went and worked at this halfway house. There wasn't a halfway house. It was a detention center, basically, but it was Christian-based. No government oversight. In other words, the government cannot control a religious organization. So this guy was bringing in, basically, it was a young kid daycare. He had like 15, 20 kids. Each one like $1,000 a month. You can do the math. You can do that now. Except do it for veterans. That's not ideal, but I need your help. I can't do it by myself. If we just created a course to help veterans with, let's say, PTSD, they join the school. Remember, the money doesn't come from the veteran. You just got to have a school that gives them a certification at the end of the program and that assists them with placement if it's employment-based. What requirements, and again, you go Google this for yourself, research this. I've already did it. Research, go to the VA website, va.gov, search bar, type in Chapter 31. Just read it. Read the requirements that the school has to meet in order to receive a check from the government every month based on the number of students. You can start, let's say you know something about construction. You can start a construction school. Let's say you know something about hair. You can start a hair school. Let's say you know something about nails. You can start a nail school. Let's say you know something about raising children. You can start a raising. Let's say you know something about cooking. Whatever you know, instead of charging the individual person, charge the government. You guys remember when I said when all of this came out, we got to figure out a way to get money from the government because people don't have it. A lot of people don't have discretionary income anymore. Because look at what's going on in the economy. A lot of people are getting laid off. A lot of people are getting fired. But I'm noticing government programs still out there. I went to what they call workforce, where you go with unemployment people. I went there yesterday. Got on a computer just to see if anything has changed since I last implemented this idea of, this is way back when I had Inspirational Grounds. That's why I started it. It's a coffee shop, bookstore, and learning center. The learning center gave me access. You know that the VA will pay you money if you are a veteran? What if you're a female veteran? What if you're a black female? You know how much grants there is for a black woman? You just got to be 1%? Black? You consider it? Or let's use what colored, brown, any race other than Anglo-Saxon. There's a program out there for you that will give you money. But what do you have to do? Sure, you may have to set up an LLC. You may have to set up a sole proprietorship, which is what I recommend. Why? No paperwork. Or less paperwork. Starting off. Remember, I did it backwards. I started a S corporation. I started a C corporation. I started an LLC because that's what I was told by the dominant culture. But I'm not a member of the dominant culture, as I found out now. So I'm telling you, I've already made all the mistakes already. But what I'm looking for, what we're talking about today, is a round table of at least myself and 11 other people. What we're going to do is everybody introduce their favorite ideal that they think there's a market for. For example, like I said at the beginning of the show, flashcards. A deck of cards with 144 cards. Each card has a word on it. One word. And those words come from my library. Now, if you want to do your own, okay, you do your own thing. But let's use Sister Emily as an example. So I know Sister Emily's 12 words and the 12 words that make up that 144 words, meaning Sister Emily's circle is 3, 4, 7, 9, 0, 9, 4, 0, 9, 5, 0, 9. But it changed. That wasn't her original. So her original report was something totally different. But she got married. She changed her last name. Right, Sister Emily? That changed her destiny. When you change a person's name, you change their destiny. So the number 3, it got 12 words. The number 4, it got 12 words. The number 7, it got 12 words. But you got the number 4 3 times. So you can't use the same words. Like that's what most people do. They use the same word. So the number 4, there has to be 36 totally different words that make up her 144 epigenetic. It activates not only the neutrinos. Now, this gets into, basically, the work that was done by the guys that created the Human Design Report, which is something totally different. Also, the guys that created the DISC system, the DISC, totally different. And the Briggs-Myers, the one that I took to become a cop. It's a sight test that tells you whether or not you would make a good blank or not. So I harmonize that along with numerology, theo-mathematics, and biblical alphanumerics, the Bible code. So my system is totally different. It goes into the DNA. I already know, so that's how I changed it. So based upon that, that's where I get my letters from. So I don't get my letters from the internet. You can Google right now, life path number, it's Sister Emily's the 7. You can go to, Sister Emily could go on the internet right now and Google life path number 7, attributes and characteristics. Or just type in strengths of life path number 7. It'll tell you all of your strengths. That's good. That's a start. That's why I started. That's a personality report. This is something totally different. So we are building and creating products around people's core epigenetic codes. That just simply means that these words override your genetic expression. So you may have a pattern that you've established called alcoholism. So you can't stop drinking unless you override that negative habit pattern that is feeding the parasites that make you desire alcohol. And the only way to override a current pattern is with a pattern that's embedded because it has no power. So in other words, the frequency, the intensity, the amplification. So we're creating products around that understanding. So one, again, as I mentioned before, flashcards. Then we got board games. So we're only limited by our imagination. But the goal is, again, to be able to formulate and create something that is very hard to create. Now, again, the easiest way to do this is through what I call individualized harmony. So, in other words, I've already created the Illumination Report itself, which is an extension of the Epigenetic Report. So everybody in the group would promote that. And let's say Sister Emily, let's say she creates some type of a vision board where you can put all a color coded, just like the circle, because I've already found a company that would do it, that would create, and then the size of the board is like a picture. I prefer it's like a poster. I prefer like 20 by 30, which is large, but it's not like huge. Because 8 by 10, 11 by 17 is too small to fit 144 words. So 144 words in a circle is too small to read. I've already tried it. So you put 144 words, color coded. So, and the color, because of, remember we talked about chromatic resonance. So that's a whole book. Somebody should be right. It's like color alchemy. The color alchemy is already out there. Color psychology is already out there. Chromatic resonance is not. I've already done the research. So somebody should write a book on chromatic resonance. That just simply means, how does color? What is that? Why does McDonald's colors, why are they red and yellow? Why do companies select the colors? Same thing like music. Same thing in smells. Why would you go to Saks Fifth Avenue? Why do you go to these high-end restaurants? Why do they select the type of music? Why do they, certain restaurants or certain stores you go into, it smells like chocolate chip cookies? How come? Ain't by accident. What is the psychology behind music? But now remember, all of this is out, but it's not based on your epigenetics. So going back to the example, using Sister Emily's numbers, if we notice that the first number is a 3, the second number is a 4, so what is the color for 3? Yellow. Okay, what is the science behind the color yellow? When you see the color yellow, what does it do to your brain? And then so again, these are the reasons or the selling points behind the product. So there is a chart, but it's flat, and it has 12 words that explain what the number 3 is, and they are yellow. Then you got 12 words that explain the number 4, and it's green. And you got 12 words that explain the number 7, but it's indigo. You got 12 words that explain the number 9, but it's, when you use, I always go with it's called magenta. I usually call it's called pink. Then you got 12 words that explain the number 0. Now, all of these color-coded words are on a 20 by 30 poster hanging on your wall. Yeah, we sell them. They're like the same thing with the flashcards. So the purpose of the group is to monetize, and all of the money, let's say if Sister Emily decides, hey, Doc, I'm going to do that. So her PayPal or her Stripe account or her bank or whatever, she just sends me the code. I set everything up on the website. Whether we just use my website or we rebrand a brand new website, and come up with a whole nother name, illuminationproducts.com or whatever we decide as a group. And everybody promotes it, but Sister Emily keeps all the money for it. And everybody in the group will come up with their own product that they want to promote. That's called a 1099. Why? That's an independent contractor, according to the IRS. That is the easiest form of business. Because when it comes tax time, you get a 1099. Tells you how much money your product made because the money went directly into your account. The other more complicated way is the way corporate America is set up. All the money comes into one account. What happens? Well, then we got to set it up so that way somebody is the CEO. Got to set up somebody is the COO. Then go and set it up so that way we got a treasurer, we got blah, blah, blah. That's more complicated. But that's more traditional. And that just simply means we do dividends, like any corporation, every 3 months. Or let's say we decide as a group, hey, every month we're going to take all the money that was paid, that we accumulated, and we're going to divide it by 12. We got $12, that means everybody get $1. But that's gross. So what's the cost of goods? So it gets a little bit more complicated when you want to set up as a traditional business. But then that's something that we would discuss as a group. Because the whole purpose of the group is to take all of my ideas along with your ideas. I can come up with something, but Brother George may come up with a better. Brother George may come up with a color-coded backpack for whatever. So that way your brain is always doing what? Your brain is always being exposed to the frequency of your lane. So we don't understand that. We don't understand that what this is called immersion therapy. We don't do that. Remember, whatever you observe, that's what you manifest unconsciously. We're not observing our numbers and our colors and our letters enough for it to automatically become a part of your ANS system. The only problem we have is the dominant culture is determining what we see. The point of this group is for us to determine what we see. The goal is the organization that I was with before, the contract I tell you guys I signed with, and that was in California, blah, blah, blah. That was kind of a little bit of, it was a little different because there was more in Hollywood. There was more into movies and production. So I was more of the, they wanted me for my ideas for movies. So I can come up with 100 ideas because there are some movies, like the movie that came out about, I think it was called Anunnaki. Remember the guy and his wife, everybody got killed? But now that's the other one. That's the one that was talking about if they could declare martial law. I forgot the name of it. That was a movie called Anunnaki. That's based upon the Samaritan text. That movie was produced and everything, but it never was released. Hollywood will not allow it to be released. So the company that I was going to be working with, that was one of the things they were going to do based upon my scripts. What happened to it? So far, anybody that goes into that area, the organization or the people in it, come on, missing. Something happens to it. The money gets funny, the funding, blah, blah, blah. How come? How come you cannot make a movie based upon the ancient text? A real one. Now, you can do like the movie that came out called The Gods. I think it's called Gods of Egypt. All Caucasians in the cast, the actors. Loosely based upon Osiris, the Egyptian story. Now, yeah, you can do that because why? It's not based upon the ancient text. I'm talking about reading the Nag Hammadi text or the Dead Sea Scrolls. Let's say you created a book on the mushroom cult called The Animascaria, based upon Dr. John Allegro's book, which is one of the guys that was commissioned by the Vatican. And he wrote a book called The Sacred Mushroom and the Cross. You can't make a movie about that. Because it talks about the linguistics of a fertility cult. Fertility. That is the foundation and the origins of what we call Christianity. Very few people have even heard of John Allegro. Very few people have even heard of the sacred mushroom theory. But based upon what, remember, he was only five people that was commissioned by the Vatican. The Vatican told him, rewrite your findings, bro, to fit in line with the other four dudes. He said, nah, he came on mission. But his daughter, who was in hiding last I checked, and again, what are we talking about? Products, services, information. That does what? Bring about illumination. So John Allegro says, hey, based upon the Dead Sea Scrolls and my research, there is a psychoactive mushroom called psilocybin, if I remember correctly. Something like that. And Santa Claus and everything that we believe is based upon the ancient fertility cult that used to take this psychedelic. Y'all remember that boy, my boy with the glasses? Man, what's his name? I can't remember his name. But anyway, he's talked about this a lot too. Because basically, he's breaking down what he read when or interpreted from the Dead Sea Scrolls. It's very, very interesting. Because Eden was according to his definitions, again, not mine. Everybody got different definitions, everybody got different words. What is the point? The point is to have a group of people that are interested in taking these ideas and exposing them, expressing them in the form of product, services, and information. In the form of whether it's, let's use the word, especially now with AI, because you can do animation. You don't really need actors now. Now you can make whole movies now. It's crazy to have a website, not a website, but yeah, a website. There's an AI program that take your words, turn them into movies. It's crazy. So the playing field has been, let's use the word, level. So a little guy, a little company, a little organization can compete, can create, whether it's animation, whether it's stories, whether it's, I've been doing books. So the goal is, I'm looking for people that are interested in taking the ancient text, putting it into product, services, and information, taking your purpose, put it into product, services, and information to help expand the light. The illumination based upon the Illuminator, which is each and every person on this planet, is an individualized pattern, a cognitive pattern, a particularization of source code. It's like God divided him, her, or itself into a bunch of smaller pieces, for lack of a better term. And expressed, exposed, and expanded himself. That's my job, and that's your job. Now, once again, the illumination, the Illuminator, all of the stuff that we're talking about, we're going to be doing it for the rest of the year, maybe even further. So in order to, let's use the word, be a part of this group, also be able to tune in and get all the classes, all the books. Now, you guys remember, I've been doing this for 30 years. So there's not too many ideals, whether like, hey, maybe you want to make just a cup. I know I got apparel. I had the MT33 apparel. It was MT33apparel.com. I had my own radio station. I had my own TV station. I had to let it all go. But when I originally started all of this, the goal was, either my kids or members of the group would assist. But I've learned over the years that the 1099 option is probably the best because everybody has their own agenda. We all have our own individualized purpose. So people's heart is not interested in promoting somebody else's stuff. And I get it. I don't promote other people's stuff. You don't see me over here promoting Billy Carson's stuff. Well, I got my own stuff. So the whole point of the group is to help you develop your own stuff. Now, if some of our stuff cross-pollinates, okay, that's cool. Because maybe, my idea for apparel, for T-shirts and pants, like, man, we need T-shirts, we need pants, we need jumpsuits, folders, briefcases, everything that I have in my office, we should brand. We should be selling it as a group. That's the point of the group. Man, there's so much money to be made. When I go on TikTok, they say, toothpaste. We should have our own toothpaste. They come out with like Tonga Ali, D3, jelly. I was selling elderberry syrup. Remember we had our own elderberry trees, right? We're selling it, and hey, we could only sell so much because the tree could only produce so many elderberries. But maybe you live out in the country somewhere. We could grow 10 trees. Another option is get together, and everybody throw in X amount of dollars. We go buy, some land. You know how much you can get 100 acres of land out in El Paso? Why? Ain't nothing out there. You got to make sure you got to get the water rights. Do it. Maybe somebody in the group will agree to live out there, or we just hire somebody to live out there. What's the point? The point is we're only limited by our imaginations, our own creativity. As source, as individual expressions of God, we have to come together because it's a lot easier. We got a group. We got 12 people, and everybody throwing $1,000. That's $12,000. Everybody throwing 2. That's 24. When you start doing the math with 12 people versus one person, the math starts to add up pretty quick. That's why there's churches on every corner in the hood. The Negroes know, except they're not doing nothing with the money. At least I can't find nobody. Oh, they really building a church. Oh, the pastor's driving a nice caddy or whatever. They ain't building no banks, though. They ain't not creating a garden and growing no food. They're not creating no water systems. They're not doing anything inside of the major centers of distribution, to my knowledge. There may be somebody out there, so you got to call me or text me. I know, hopefully there are some black folks out there, non-black too, doing some big things. The whole point of this group is for us to be a part of that dialogue. No matter where we start, the goal is to get together, formulate some ideals. Now, once again, the barrier to entry, what they call it, is, I'm gonna keep it at $1,000 because that's the cost of the entire year's books and shows and everything I'm doing. And payment plans is available. Now, we're not gonna implement it unless there's at least minimum, let's say 4. And there is no maximum. I'm saying 12. We can have 100. If 100 people respond, hey, the more the better. Why? Then we can get more done. But if there is no interest in it, again, that's not bad. That's not good. The whole point of what I do for a living is I'm a creator. And I get ideas. I get downloads. I get those downloads. I implement them, or I share them with other people. The goal is for everybody to pick up your new Illumination report, because it's really an Illumination business report. I really didn't think it would tie into, but now again, I've been doing this already, but with this deeper level of awareness, all it is the productization. I don't even think that's a word. I don't know, is that a word? Excuse me. It's the productization of your own self. Now, that's all I did. I didn't really create I thought I was creating products, services, and information. I've just been expressing my 144 attributes and characteristics. I know that now that I've been doing it for a while. That's why I'm able to share it with you. Because if I had really known this before, that really all I'm doing is taking what God gave me. I just didn't know how valuable me was. Just like you've been discounting you. You've been promoting some other person's product, some other person's service, some other person's information. Hopefully, if you were anything like me, that person's product, service, or information that you've been promoting, knowingly or unknowingly, hopefully it's the vibrational equivalent of you. A lot of the jobs and things that I did, especially some of the corrections and law enforcement stuff, I went into it not to arrest people. I went into it thinking I could help people. When I got in there, I realized that the demographics, the type of help from my position, I couldn't help people because they was afraid or they labeled or they disliked because nobody likes the popo. So I realized I can't help nobody if I was a popo because I was getting to the scene after the crime. So I went in to try to do some pre-crime stuff. That's why I went into counseling. That's why I got into ministry. Because the whole point, I'm a six. What do sixes like to do? We like to save folks. We are carers. We like to care. So that's what led me into my demographics. So the point of the group, once again, take your numbers, take your purpose, take your destiny, take your dear Kinnear, put it into a form of a product, service, information. Well, you're already doing it, or you should be already doing it. But as a group, we hold each other accountable. We bounce off ideals, and we say, hey, Doc, that flashcard ideal, man, it sounds good on paper, bro, but ain't nobody going to look through 144 flashcards to remind themselves of their numbers. It's 144 is too many cards. Or, hey, we can color code it. Or we can come up with another idea. And we turn it into like a Monopoly game. The whole goal is for us to bounce these ideals off the group before we implement them into the public. And to assist each other with the promotion and the development of all of these ideas for the purpose of establishing an illumination or light, love, joy, peace, gentleness, meekness, and self-control. So again, if anybody interested, man, you guys know what to do. Just, man, email me, text me. You don't have to send any money today. Just let me know that you're interested. And if you're interested, I'll send out payment options and all that good stuff. And, hey, remember, money's never an issue, you guys. It's always about what? Purpose. Because when purpose is not known, abuse is inevitable. Y'all know my email, and you know my number. Holla at your boy. God bless you.